Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. The fourth largest country in the world has just been home to some of the most bullish Bitcoin news of the year. Their largest bank and the world's 26th largest bank has just made a Bitcoin move. The next MicroStrategy copycat has announced their plan to join the infinite money glitch, buying 30 million euros worth of Bitcoin in the same country. We even have sitting politicians from this country making bullish Bitcoin statements at the biggest Bitcoin conference in Europe. I was just there, Bitcoin Amsterdam. Before we show you all of this, could this be a massive Bitcoin backflip from this country? Here's the clip, and then I'll bring on our panelists.
States starts and buys Bitcoin as a strategic reserve or something like that, then I think all the European countries, with a little bit of delay, they will get FOMO. They will get the fear of missing out. So there's a lot of pressure now on the American colleagues here to do something about it, because it's always the states who start first. And so maybe that has an impact, because otherwise it will take a long time in Germany to change it.
All right, everybody, before we jump into it, today on the show, we have Johnny Vance from Tuttle Twins. They've been absolutely killing it. They're going to be dropping a new episode very, very soon. And of course, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, joining me. And there you have that German politician saying the quiet part out loud. And this is why I honestly believe this upcoming election in less than 30 days is so important. I mean, it is about 30 days or so, is going to be so important. Yeah, like 15 days is going to be so important. Because depending on who gets in the White House is going to have a determining factor on not only the regulatory policy, but whether the most powerful country on planet Earth is going to adopt Bitcoin in some type of fashion. And you heard it from that politician herself. She says, you know what? If the U.S. is going to do it, we're probably going to do it as well. And you're already starting to see the game theory play out when you see Russia legalizing Bitcoin, when you're seeing China using Hong Kong as a proxy to get all the benefits from the Bitcoin industry. This is the game theory playing out. It's not like a lot of these governments are like, you know what, let's give the people freedom. It's the incentives. It's the game theory playing out right in front of our faces. Anyways, the country I was talking about in the beginning, of course, was Germany, and we all know the Germany news. It was either a month ago or a couple of weeks ago, they made this huge announcement. It wasn't Germany itself. It was specifically a province that sold a bunch of Bitcoin, but there's a lot of bullish news coming out of Germany. First of all, of course, it's the clip that I played for you guys in the beginning, and I mentioned one of the largest banks in the world, Deutsche Bank, is providing services. So I'm going to read some of this article. It says Deutsche Bank is giving crypto native market maker Keylock Global Services a boost through a new partnership. According to an announcement on October 14th, the bank will provide Keyrock with multi-currency accounts and foreign exchange services, enabling Keyrock to expand its operations in Latin America, all these different places. Quote, providing our services to Brussels-based Keyrock as one of the leading digital asset liquidity specialists in Europe aligns with our dedicated commitment to supporting tech and fintech innovation. So this is a continuation of the trend. We had the news coming out of the United States that Goldman Sachs was a relatively conservative wealth management bank, got $400 million worth of exposure to Bitcoin via the ETF. You had banks like Wells Fargo, you had banks like JP Morgan, you have pension funds like the Wisconsin Pension Fund, all getting exposure to Bitcoin. You had the second largest bank in Europe, BNP Paribas. It's a French bank. They got a ton of exposure to Bitcoin via the ETF. And now you have a German bank, which is, again, teaming up with Keyrock to offer services for digital assets. And then on top of that, you have marketing that's coming out of the bank itself. Here is Marianne Luby. She's an analyst at Deutsche Bank. And she says, quote, I could potentially see Bitcoin to become the 21st century gold. This is very, very similar language to what we're hearing coming out of BlackRock and Larry Fink, specifically as it relates to Bitcoin. To quote their latest research report, they said that Bitcoin is a, quote, non-sovereign alternative. It's a very, very powerful statement from one of the world's most powerful, companies and asset managers. And of course, last but not least, here is a company following in the footsteps of MicroStrategy. And the name of the company is Samaro Asset Group, and they want to buy Bitcoin using a $33 million bond. So very, very similar strategy to Michael Saylor. So Michael Saylor issues these bonds, issues his debt. People buy up the debt, and then he uses that Bitcoin. He uses that money, that fiat, to buy Bitcoin. The price of his stock goes through the moon. He rinses and repeats it. He does the exact same thing over and over again. And using that strategy, he's been able to outperform the rest of the S&P 500. So it goes on to say, specifically as it relates to this country, publicly listed asset manager Samara Asset Group is working to increase its Bitcoin holdings with proceeds from a 30 million euro bond. Announcing the news on October 14th, Samara said investment bank Pareto Securities would be the sole manager in arranging a series of fixed investor meetings on a potential multi-million dollar bond to expand its investment portfolio. Quote, an up to 30 million euro senior secured Nordic bond may follow subject to inter alia market conditions. The bond's proceeds would be used for, quote, additional limited partnership stakes and investments in Bitcoin, which the firm uses as a, quote, this is a very key word in this entire article, primary treasury reserve asset. That's massive, right? This is a publicly traded company, and they're not calling Bitcoin an alternative asset. They're calling Bitcoin a primary treasury reserve asset. And I suspect you're going to see this trend continues. The article goes on to say, according to Samara's CEO, Patrick Lowry, the asset manager has been holding Bitcoin for years and is now increasing its Bitcoin treasury and investing in, quote, disruptive tech through top managers and builders. Not sure it's possible, but it'd be a dream to stack as much as Michael Saylor. So Samara wants to hold 1,000 Bitcoin by year's end. So I mean, this is massive. This is a continuation of the trend. People are seeing what Michael Saylor is doing. They're seeing, most importantly, Michael Saylor's proof of work and the results that speak for themselves. And people want to follow in Michael Saylor's footsteps. Also, just bullish news in Germany overall, right? You have Deutsche Bank being very open to it. You have a company coming out of Germany. And of course, you have the German politician saying the quiet part out loud why this upcoming election is going to be so important. Because once the United States of America announces that Bitcoin is a global reserve asset, they're making it as a global reserve asset, you're going to see every country around the world look at what the US is doing. And they're saying, you know what? Like, this is probably a good idea. Just how BlackRock legitimized Bitcoin in the eyes of institutions, if you have a country like the US stepping in and holding Bitcoin officially as reserves, it legitimizes Bitcoin in the eyes of nation states, which is massive. Not that it needs any legitimization. We already have Bitcoin country, we have El Salvador, right? But, in the eyes of normie countries, let's say, it would be kind of a massive deal. Anyways, we have a very special guest joining us today. I want to get his thoughts on this. We're going to be talking about Tuttle Twins later on in the show. Johnny, I mean, you were, dude, you do Bitcoin media like we do. None of this should come as a surprise to you. But yeah, just this year has just been a continuation of bullish news after bullish news after bullish news. It's almost as if we're on the verge of winning. That's what it feels like from my perspective. What's your take?
Yeah, man. We've just seen in our Twitter threads, X, so many people coming out of the woodwork asking for our show in German. They want our Bitcoin episodes that we make for the German people. And so I believe it. Like, there is strong grassroots demand in Germany. Volkswagen, like, what is that? The people's car, Volks money. I don't know German. But I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it really is this scenario where, like, if the countries don't adopt the winning currency, they're going to get left behind. You saw, early on, China adopted the silver standard when all the rest of the world adopted the gold standard, and they were century plus behind. And so, this arms race of Bitcoin is going to be really exciting to see.
100%, and I think that's what it is. It is an arms race, right? Max Kaiser coined the term global hash war. I completely agree. You're seeing Trump in his political rhetoric is like, I gotta do full screen to do the Trump mimic. I want all the Bitcoin to be mined in the U.S. Right. So like you're seeing this rhetoric from politicians. Russia, you could say that Russia is a total. There it is. Volts Geld. Appreciate the chat. But yeah, I mean, you see Russia. That Russia isn't exactly, you could say that Russia is somewhat of a totalitarian country, and their government is legalizing Bitcoin mining. They're not doing that out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing that because of the incentive structure, right? The Kingdom of Bhutan, right? I love that. I love that kingdom. I want to go visit now. But essentially, it's a small Himalayan kingdom. They have a tremendous amount of excess hydroelectric power, and we discovered like a month or two ago, based on some articles, that they hold like 1/3 of their GDP in Bitcoin. And I saw like a picture of like one of the leaders from Bhutan, and it's just like this humble guy in a monk suit, like just like you can never tell, and that they're just holding this absurd amount of Bitcoin. Which, by the way, unlike other governments, they never confiscated it. They mined all that Bitcoin, right, via proof of work. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this? Does this surprise you at all? I mean, Germany did dump on us, right? That could have played into the price crashing for a little bit and chopping. So, but it looks like the incentives are winning, and now you even have politicians admitting, you know what? If the U.S. is going all in, we might have to change our perspective here. What's your take, Opti?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting seeing that a lot of factors playing out in Germany are now kind of seeing the light and becoming Bitcoiners. And considering, this, what I forget how long ago was that? It was like a month or two ago where they dumped 50,000 coin on us, and we are like, man, all right, I thought we were getting out of this bear market, and then we get dumped on by a government. It is what it is. But it is very interesting to see that Deutsche Bank is getting excited about it. It was interesting seeing that lady talk about Bitcoin and basically saying what I've been saying for a long time. And Nico, we've both been saying this on the show for a long time, that like, love or hate Trump, ever since he came out and said the whole Bitcoin strategic reserve stockpile, it has fundamentally changed the game theory playing out there. And she said something that I think few people really understand, is that the US does lead in terms of not only culture, but in finances. And if America goes all in on Bitcoin, then it really sets off the game theory, and everyone else is going to have to FOMO into Bitcoin. And, we're going to see if that is going to play out. We still don't know who's going to win this election. It's seemingly like Trump is leading in the betting markets on poly markets, so it looks like he might have the presidency locked in. But it is interesting when you think about it. If Trump does hold his word and does the strategic Bitcoin stockpile that he's been talking about, and actually follows through with what he's been saying to the Bitcoin community, then every other country in the world is going to have to start looking at Bitcoin legitimately. And we saw Russia kind of do that same thing ever since that announcement. They legalized Bitcoin mining. They're talking about allowing transactions being had in Bitcoin. But I find the most interesting aspect about this is that Patrick Lowry guy from Samsara Asset Group, and he's been tweeting the last couple of days. He's been going full Bitcoin maxi. He's sounding like Sailor when he first came into the Bitcoin space, and he's literally doing the same stuff that we do. It's like, oh, ever since I announced this bond strategy to basically follow the MicroStrategy infinite money glitch strategy, he's like, man, can you guys keep the price low? I'm trying to stack sats. Like, what's going on here? Is this price moving because I announced this? And then this morning he came out and tweeted something on the verge of, we're going to convert every public company CEO to being Bitcoiners. So you can tell that he's fully on board now. It's very interesting to see this play out. I wonder what kind of conversations he had to have with like his board. That article said that he was a Bitcoiner for a while and he's been stacking. And I think this is more signal to what I've been saying on the show for a long time, that things start to move slower in traditional financial world. And by the end of this year, and of course into next year, we're going to see some very big names come out and basically be like, yeah, I've been buying Bitcoin for a long time, but I had to kind of go through all of the hoops to basically orange pill my board and my company. And now that we have all of this stuff playing out, whether it's the ETF, whether it's the FASB rule change, whether it's just public sentiment around Bitcoin and all the conversation and the price rising. It seems like they're all going to be piling into Bitcoin in this next leg up in the bull run. So things might get very frothy in terms of Bitcoin price next year. And again, I know a lot of Bitcoiners kind of pride ourselves on being critical thinkers, and we don't really need the suit or the authority figures to tell us about Bitcoin. But once these authority figures, quote unquote authorities, come out and start talking favorably about Bitcoin, I think public sentiment around Bitcoin is going to change very rapidly, and we're going to be seeing some crazy retail FOMO. My thumbs. I don't know how to turn that off. We're going to see some crazy FOMO into Bitcoin, maybe even reminiscent of what we saw in 2017. Obviously, 2020 bull run was kind of lackluster, but it does seem like a perfect storm. And maybe we're going to see some 2013, 2017 price rises, which means that 10 to 20x maybe.
Wow. Opties, go ahead, Johnny.
I was just going to ask, are you saying that the Black Friday sale for Bitcoin is now?
Yes.
Or
I'm
can
saying
I get it
buy
cheaper?
the dip. I'm saying buy the dip. And if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for 40K or 10K, you're not going to get it. So, maybe 58K is the bottom. So shouts out the 58K gang for holding it down. But yeah, it's funny, Johnny, you say that. One of my friends kind of said that yesterday. He's like, dude, do you think we're ever going to get 10K Bitcoin? I'm like, bro, not a chance. Look, there's no chance we're getting that.
There's no way. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. We have lots to talk about. We have Senator or Congressman, better said, Thomas Massie, highlighting the scam that is inflation. This is something that you guys over at Tuttle Twins have done an incredible job talking about. Most people are just completely psyoped and unaware of how much the money is corrupted and how much it's broken. And I tweeted this out this morning. Printing money is theft, period, full stop. The problem is that the majority of the population, they're not aware of that. And they continue to seek a political solution where in reality, it's just a matter of opting out of broken money. And you could do that using Bitcoin. So I love playing these types of videos because it moves the Overton window and it brings public awareness to broken money. And of course, a little bit of a somewhat of a hot button issue, but I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I've been begging and wanting Kamala Harris or presidential candidate Kamala Harris to bring up Bitcoin and bring up crypto. She finally did, but not in the way that we wanted her to bring it up. So we're going to talk about that. It is a little bit delicate, but I promised I'd be wearing a Kamala shirt. This disqualifies it, in my opinion. This is not what I was expecting. I think Bitcoin is for everyone. It shouldn't be used as a political talking point. Anyways, guys, before we jump into the show, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get verified. It's a clear 1% spread. It's obviously Bitcoin only, and it's completely non-custodial. This is what makes Bitcoin Well unique and different. Meaning, when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. Doesn't even give you the ability to leave the money on the exchange, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Head over to bitcoinwell.com today to get started. And of course, by the way, when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points, and you could redeem those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. So we're going to toss a coin into the Wishing Well live for you guys right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code wins 500 sats. Every time you toss a coin into the Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. So you never know. If you use promo code SimplyBTC, again, SimplyBTC, to sign up to BitcoinWell.com today, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well, absolutely free. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. Lots to talk about. All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Usually, when you buy yourself a hardware wallet, it comes with a piece of paper, and you're meant to write down your seed words on that piece of paper. Problem is that paper is prone to fire damage, water damage. Your dog could eat that piece of paper. That's not the right way to store your generational wealth, which is why we recommend here at Simply Bitcoin to literally stamp your seed into a plate of titanium. They literally put a blowtorch against this thing. They put it in a pit of fire. They put it in salt water. Your dog's probably not going to want to eat a plate of titanium. This is the proper way to store your generational wealth. The stamp seed kit comes with everything you need. It comes with the hammer. It comes with the letter stamping tools. It comes with the plate so that you could literally proof of work, letter by letter, stamp your seed in the privacy of your own home so that it can stand the test of time. You literally stamp your seed into a plate of titanium. This is the right way of storing your Bitcoin seed words. Anyways, guys, head over to stampseed.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com website. At the time of recording, we just hit like 67,800, but it was like a very like short-term wick, and then we wicked all the way down to like 65. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, right now at the time of recording, we're at 66,920 sats per dollar, 1,494 sats per dollar, block height 865,780, realized monetary inflation 1.29%, market cap is 1.3 trillion, Bitcoin versus gold market cap, is 7.22%. Money supply is 19,767,846 BTC. Percentage issued 94.13%. Anyways, I tweeted this out this morning. I think it resonated with a lot of you guys. And I said, printing money is stealing. And honestly, where I'm personally at in my Bitcoin rabbit hole journey, and the rabbit hole is literally endless. There is no end to the rabbit hole. Is I am the unintended consequences of the world being on a fiat standard are very severe, and most people are not aware of it. I think that you can only really, I mean, Jeff Booth, I think, describes it best, right? It's very difficult to perceive this new system from within the old system. I'm going to totally bring up a matrix analogy, right? If you were in the matrix and I told you you were in a computer program, you wouldn't believe me, right? Watch Matrix 1. I saw it again the other day. And you wouldn't believe me. Like when Morpheus originally told Neo freaked out. He said, no, this is impossible. This is fake. Well, that's what I call the fiat matrix, right? Like people are just so completely unaware that money does not need to debase in order to function, that they're convinced that it's the opposing political party that is causing all their economic woes and issues, where in reality, it's the money that is fundamentally broken, it's corrupted, and it's stealing from everyone. The matrix is less strong in countries that have unstable fiat currencies. Most people in those countries don't believe what the guy in the suit behind the emblem on TV has to say about the money. When they tell them and lecture the people about it's their patriotic duty to use their local fiat currency, they don't believe the person. But in the West, where the inflation rate is not big enough for people to realize, people are literally psyoped. Like it's a massive psyop. That's why I use the matrix analogy and example, because I think it's very fitting. So when you have politicians, right? Shout out to Ron Paul, because Ron Paul, a man like ahead of his time, right? Correctly identifying this issue long time ago, right? He really moved the Overton window. He started this, I would say. But shout out to Representative Thomas Massie, who's currently in Congress, who is talking about inflation, because this is the problem that the American people, in fact, not only the American people, people worldwide, if you are using the fiat currency of your country, it is probably debasing. And if it is debasing, your government is stealing from you. It is theft, and this disproportionately affects the lower and middle classes the most. And the reason for that is because it's the lower and middle classes, the working class, that does not have the means to save in assets. So they work for fiat and they save in fiat. So unless you're getting a 5 to 10% pay raise on a yearly basis, that's why you feel like you're not getting ahead. That's why you feel like you cannot afford housing. That's why you feel like you can't afford the grocery bills. This is literally why, because they're printing money. That is the sole cause of it. And don't let them gaslight you into thinking that you are crazy and that somehow it's the responsibility of anything and everyone but the government. Anyways, here's Thomas Massie. Let's check out the clip.
This is what happens when you have a quantity of something and then you add more to it. This is dilution. The principle is that a child can understand, and you can create this little science project at home. So you can have your tea back. But the principle is called dilution. And when you print $5 trillion and you put it into the economy, you have diluted the value of the money. So for instance, if you had a minimum wage at some amount, and somebody was making minimum wage and they were still making minimum wage after this money was printed, they actually are making considerably less in terms of real dollars. It's dilution. So the $5 trillion that we printed, I would argue, is the primary source of inflation. You know, we can say, well, eggs went up because feed went up, fuel went up because there's a war in Ukraine. You can find a lot of excuses for various different industries. But what is the probability that every price went up all at the same time? You can't blame them on specific supply chain problems. The thing
how do you explain the global?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me that, Professor Raskin. Because they did the same thing in Europe. They did this everywhere. They printed their own equivalents of the Federal Reserve and treasuries, created their own money out of thin air. It may be the only thing that saved our dollar is that everybody else did the same thing to their currency. And so the question is, right now we're coming up on the debt limit. Why isn't anybody proposing to print more money? Why aren't the economists proposing to print more money? Because it is poison. When you print money, it is poison to our economy, and it is.
So Bitcoiners have a level above this. Bitcoiners, the way that we see it is, no one should have the power and the ability to create money for free that another human being has to work for. And here's the thing, despite all the money printing, if you've been saving in Bitcoin, everything is getting cheaper. The world is getting progressively cheaper. And if you believe in Jeff Booth's theory that the world should be naturally deflationary because of improvements in technology, which increases productivity, the only unit of account that is properly reflecting this deflationary future is Bitcoin. And I love this website. I've shown you guys this website a million times. It's called Priced in Bitcoin 21. And it's extremely powerful. And the reason for that is that it shows you that if you save in Bitcoin on a 5-year scale, on a 3-year scale, whether it's the dollar, whether it's oil, whether it's gold, whether it's the S&P 500, whether it's whether it's a new house, everything is getting progressively cheaper as it relates to Bitcoin. So the American dream isn't dead. You're just using the wrong unit of account. And one last thing before I pass it on to Johnny, because I want to hear his thoughts. He's a great, I'm going to say content creator, but you guys do more than that. What's the problem? Filmmaker, right? I'm going to say that. Showmaker. But you guys raise so much awareness and you guys have so much reach in highlighting everything that I'm saying. So I'm going to pass it on to you in a second. But, Thomas Massie said something really interesting, which is like, they keep blaming the wars and the supply chains and everything. Look, guys, I'm not an economist, and part of the reason that I think I understand Bitcoin is because I'm not an economist. But I'm going to use a little bit of common sense here. Here's the M2 money supply. It's a representation of how much money they printed during the pandemic. By the way, when this was happening, Bitcoiners were saying that we were going to see a record amount of inflation. Simultaneously, government officials were gaslighting us and telling us that there was going to be no inflation. In fact, if you were saying that there was going to be inflation, they were saying that that was misinformation. Fast forward 1 or 2 years later, you had Janet Yellen basically apologizing, saying, hey, we got it wrong. But anyways, I'm going to show you some data, right? This is from the Fed's own website. So here's the M2 money supply. And here is the medium sales price for a house sold in the United States. You guys see a correlation there. Isn't that interesting? They printed a record amount of money and then the price of housing goes up. So it's not that the price of housing went up. It's that the currency was debased. That's what happened. That's what's happening. That's what's happening with every good. That's what's happening with food. That's what's happening with housing. So even if you're invested in real estate and you're like, yo, my house, went up in value twice, it's like, but did the purchase, like if you sell it, right? And let's say your house was worth $500,000 and now it's worth $1 million. And like, let's say you're like, yo, I'm going to cash out. I'm going to make $500,000. Is that $500,000 going to buy you that much more goods? No, just the purchasing power got cut in half. So like the unit amount went up, and that's why it's so insidious. Like that's why the educational thing is so difficult, because people get psyop. They're like, this is $100 bill. But that $100 bill loses purchasing power and Bitcoin gains purchasing power. Anyways, Johnny, you guys do an incredible job at highlighting this and making these very complicated matters very easy to understand for the younger generation. And the younger generations are the future. Like I just had a daughter. She was born into a world post Bitcoin where Bitcoin existed, and she's going to be raised on a Bitcoin standard. Fiat for her, it's like I'm going to instill these principles into her from a very young age. She's not going to look at fiat the same way, right? That a lot of us we had to wake up from the fiat matrix. We had to be like, oh, wow, the money's broken, and then go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, right? So you guys do incredible work over at Tuttle Twins, educating the younger generations. And also I watch those things too, man. They're great. So how have you guys been trying to tackle this issue? Am I crazy? Is this even a thing? What's your take, Johnny?
Oh, you're not crazy. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. Like, I think inflation is it's in the zeitgeist right now, right? You could say like 5 years ago, nobody was talking about inflation, right? And unless you took like a college economics course, it wasn't relevant to you. I will say though, like in the show, like you said, we try and break these down to a level that kids can understand. And the side effect is that actually parents understand it too. We're like, here's a cartoon, it's for kids. But then parents, I think there's maybe something about a cartoon that makes all of us put our guard down. And then we're like, oh, that's funny. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Right. So it kind of like Trojan horses ideas into everybody's mind. We've definitely, like in my personal experience, like this last weekend, I had a conversation with my uncle about Bitcoin and it just wasn't getting through to him. And then the other day, my 5-year-old son just came to me and said, Dad, the inflation monster is stealing all our money. People must know about Bitcoin. They must know. And it was incredible just to see, wow, once the fiat garbage is just calcified in your mind, it is really hard to wake up and unlearn that. But if you can start from the ground up teaching Austrian economics and teaching what sound money is, it's super simple and super easy. So it gives me a lot of hope.
100%, 100%. It's and you guys do, like I said, I can't emphasize that enough. Guys, go check out Tuttle Twins. You guys do such a great effing job. I love the episode that you guys did where like Satoshi's face was always conveniently covered, and they were going with Abuelita. All right. And, Opti and I, of course, are Hispanic. He's Mexican, I'm Venezuelan. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is so wholesome. It's hilarious. And it was a very great way of exposing Bitcoiners to exposing Bitcoin to beginners. Because again, I think once you get exposed to Bitcoin, the natural evolution is for you to ask the question, which is what Bitcoiners want the masses to ask, which is what is money in the first place. And I don't think governments have a really good response to that. So like they're trying to like brush it under the rug, hoping that you don't notice. Anyways, we got someone in the comments, Bitcoin Bull, saying my daughter will be raised on Tuttle Twins. My daughter will be raised on Tuttle Twins too. Opti, what's your take on all this, brother? Yeah, man. I mean, shout out to Thomas Massie picking up the torch from where Ron Paul left it off.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Thomas Massie. He's probably like the only politician that is actually, upholding his oaths out there and putting his neck on the line to actually follow the rules that as they were written and expose the hypocrisy and the corruption. So I'm a huge fan of Thomas Massie. I think he's probably, if not the best congressman. I'm sure there might be some other ones out there, but Thomas Massie is the GOAT right now. He's doing the Lord's work out. He's doing Satoshi's work out there. But really touching on this clip, I think this is like the best example to explain inflation to people, because you can always do like someone in the chat said, like I like to explain inflation as like monetary debasement. It's like, yeah, I totally agree, but when you break down concepts on a 5th grade level, it's the Feynman method, I believe it is. I might be messing up his last name, but like, think about something, explain it on a 5th grade level, and then when you understand and realize you have holes in your explanation, then you go back and you work on it so that you can explain it better on a 5th grade level. And I think this is like the best explanation for inflation possible. It's simply dilution. We can call it debasement. You can call it theft, all that stuff. I think, like Johnny said, inflation has been one of these topics, especially since it is an election year. It's becoming one of the big things that everyone's worried about now is what the hell is going on with our money? Why are groceries getting more expensive? Why is gas getting more expensive? And to have Thomas Massie come out there and just like, pour a glass of water and some tea and be like, this is what's happening to your money supply. When you print $5 trillion, that means you are getting poorer. And, explaining it for minimum wage workers, like so that people can understand what is going on. And I think the funniest part about that clip to me was when he took the quarter of the tea, put some water in, and then he's like, here, do you want your tea back? And the guy's like, no, I don't want it. And like, is that not like a perfect encapsulation of what all of us Bitcoiners are doing here? When you realize what inflation is doing to your money, you're like, I don't want that. Like, I want something that cannot be debased, that's going to hold its value through time and space, aka Bitcoin. And this is what this is all about, is of course, fix the money, fix the world. So shouts out to Thomas Massie out there. And also, I did get a sneak peek of the Tuttle Twins' new episode this morning, and you guys did also a very good job of explaining inflation and the problem in a slightly different way. So we'll just drop that in there on the sneak peek that you are on the beat of trying to explain inflation at a 5th grade level for the children and of course the parents watching the cartoon with them.
100%. And guys, I can't emphasize this enough. It's not only about identifying the problem, it's also a solution. And what we are advocating for here on Simply Bitcoin is like take agency and action over your own life and choose to opt out of political money. And you have every tool to do that. Like, you have Bitcoin Well, you have hardware wallets that, we advocate for. You have everything you need to buy Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, and then take that Bitcoin into self-custody. And then you'll start benefiting from living on a deflationary currency. Like, it's as simple as that. You don't have to wait for a politician to come home and, save the day. That's not to say that elections aren't important. They definitely are for sure. But, you don't have to wait for a politician. You can do that right now. You could take back your financial sovereignty over your life. Anyways, guys, we're going to hit the news. Lots to talk about. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I've been hoping that the Kamala campaign would finally come out and say that they will protect Bitcoin and they will protect crypto. And they kind of did it, to give them credit. But it wasn't 100%. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And also, Alex Thorne did a great job putting together. He's head of research, by the way, at Galaxy, and he did a great job putting together the crypto policy and legislative comparisons between Biden, Harris, and Trump. And we're going to kind of do a breakdown of all those things. And to be honest with you, I'll be honest with you guys, and I think this has to do with the massive outreach and the amount of support that this industry has gotten. It looks it on the surface, it seems like Harris will be more positive than Biden, but obviously it looks like Trump is going to be the most pro crypto and Bitcoin candidate. So we're going to break all of that down. We have the receipts for you guys, so stay tuned for the news. Here we go.
Special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet design with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind for your piece of Bitcoin.
All right, everybody. Before we jump into it, Opti is going to model the Passport for you guys. It's incredibly easy to use. This is the perfect gift to give to someone if perhaps they're a little bit intimidated by self-custody. The Passport makes it incredibly easy to use. It gives you the convenience without sacrificing the security. So use promo code SIMPLY. Head over to Foundation Devices today, the website, scan the QR code, check the link in the video description, and that will take you to the website. Again, use promo code SIMPLY. It does not come with Opti. I mean, that's negotiable. Anyways, so let's get to it. Before we jump into it, I do want to highlight this. This is a tweet that came out of Kamala Harris's account. I just want to emphasize this, guys, beginning. YouTube, Opti and I, we are minorities. We are Hispanics. We are Latinos. And we think that the president of the United States should represent all Americans. So I'm going to emphasize that. I'm also not going to offer any types of opinion. I'm just going to read what it says. Kamala Harris says, Harris-Wallace policy. Kamala Harris will create an opportunity agenda for Black men. And specifically as it relates to cryptocurrencies, it says, protect cryptocurrency investments so Black men who make them know their money is safe. I don't know what that means. If you just took away the certain fuck, I can't, how do I say this? Let's just say, like, if you just said protect cryptocurrency investments so men who make them know their money is safe. If you just said it that way, it still would make I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. No idea. No details provided. Also, I believe this is a little bit divisive. That's my humble opinion. But to give Kamala credit, This is great. This is wonderful. This is a step in the right direction. This is amazing, right? Because we never heard anything official coming out of the Kamala campaign before this. So definitely a step in the right direction, but not quite there where I'm going to wear a shirt. Okay. So anyways, that's my comments on that. I don't know how else to talk about that subject on YouTube. Anyways, here's Alex Thorne. And he does a great job, an excellent job at breaking down the different positions of the Biden administration, the Harris-Walz potential administration, and the Trump administration. And he goes topic by topic. So the SEC, the Biden administration, obviously, they've had a very hostile SEC. The Harris-Walz, according to Alex's research, he says Harris has said her administration would, quote, encourage innovative technologies like AI and digital assets while protecting our consumers and investors, which could be seen as a nod towards financial regulation policy for digital assets. Though the statement doesn't clearly signal a divergence from Biden administration, behind the scenes conversations, though, suggest Harris is targeting a slightly more constructive approach. And of course, Trump at the Bitcoin Nashville conference literally said he's going to fire Gary Gensler. So that tells you everything you need to know. The Treasury. So in the Biden administration, it's somewhat new. It's not great, but it's not bad. It says Treasury has sought clarification and expanse of Bank Secrecy Act to apply to non-custodial stakeholders, but they haven't unilaterally accomplished anything here. And while they have advocated for legislation, the advocacy hasn't been extremely aggressive. Now, apparently, this is negative on the Harris-Walz administration. According to Alex, it would be a slight improvement over Biden, but still negative. A top Harris economic advisor is Brian Nelson, Biden's Treasury Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, the office that was the source of the infamous letter to Senator Sherman Brown seeking enhanced Treasury authority over crypto, same as Trump, except known personal leans hawkish here. And then, according to Alex, from the Treasury perspective, a Trump administration would be neutral. So, according to Alex, Trump's public support of digital assets and a desire within Trump policy would be that FinCEN provided more exemptive relief, notwithstanding Treasury policy, is largely formulated by career bureaucrats. And this trend on these national security issues has been unidirectional since 9/11. So, according to Treasury's the sanctions, in my humble opinion, I think sanctions are going to be current U.S. sanction policy. I don't believe is compatible with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is an open monetary network, right? So we haven't crossed that bridge yet. I don't know how that is going to be mended. But the reality is that the U.S. government can weaponize the dollar. They can freeze accounts. You can't freeze a Bitcoin wallet address, right? So how are they going to react to that? I don't know. But anyways, so according to Alex, Biden has been very terrible in this category. According to Alex, the Harris administration is somewhat negative. Harris personnel in these roles is likely to be similar to Biden. And also these issues are handled primarily by career bureaucrats and who have advanced hawkish views on financial interactions since 9/11. Trump also slightly negative. I'm telling you, this one's going to be it's going to be difficult. In terms of IRS/tax issues, Biden and Harris is somewhat negative. Trump would be somewhat supportive. Trump hasn't spoken publicly about the key IRS issues, but there is likely to be some clarity on tax policy for digital assets. Bitcoin mining, of course, we know the proposed 30% tax on mining by Biden. That's horrible. According to Alex, the Harris campaign is somewhat hostile, slightly better than Biden, and has made climate justice a key pillar of her platform, which may include punitive measures against large consumers of electricity. Harris was also a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal while in the Senate. However, her proxy to Silicon Valley and increasing closeness between Bitcoin mining and AI might lead to a softening of her stance on this issue. And then Trump is extremely supportive. Of course, we all know that he hosted all the CEOs of the public miners at Mar-a-Lago. Self-custody, both Biden and Harris have been very negative towards this. To be specific, there hasn't been an overt attack on self-custody, though the Treasury Department has sought the authority to label non-custodial wallet providers as money transmitters. And under a Trump administration, be somewhat supportive. Trump pledged to protect the right to self-custody during his speech in Nashville, and that's officially part of the Republican Party platform. Bank regulators, of course, we all know the infamous Operation Choke Point 2.0 that has been happening under the Biden administration. According to Alex, he believes that under a Harris administration, there could be an easing of Operation Choke Point 2.0 because behind the scene conversations suggest acknowledgement that legal businesses need access to banking. No known positions on banks touching public blockchains or CBDCs. And, under a Trump administration, it would be extremely supportive. Trump's OCC allowed national banks to touch blockchains. Trump has pledged to end Operation Choke Point 2.0. So again, it's not perfect. There are specific things, specifically when it comes to the Treasury Department, which is not surprising, that regardless of the candidate, it's not great. But it's clear that one candidate is going to be a little bit more positive towards our industry than the other. But I got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Harris and Walls. Definitely a step in the right direction. Not ideal in the wording and the rhetoric. I'll be honest with you. That could definitely be a little bit more inclusive. But I think, Opti, don't get us banned, but I mean, it's better than nothing, bro, right? Is it
honestly not? I don't even know what that means. Literally, it's a word salad. I have no clue what that even means. I mean, I guess she's at least talking about Bitcoin and crypto at this point, so her hand is being forced. Obviously, since Trump came out again, it's really changed the conversation in regards to the Bitcoin industry. But I don't know, from that phrasing and from the Trump shitcoin DeFi project, it sounds like both presidential candidates are shitcoiners, but it seems like one might be a little more favorable in regards to Bitcoin, at least in regards to the party lines. Seems like the Republicans are being a little more friendly to the Bitcoin industry. Personally, this sounds like a little, too little too late, but hey, at least they're all pandering to Bitcoin now, and right? They're realizing that Bitcoin is an actual social movement, and they can't just kind of put baby in the corner and be like, okay, you guys don't matter, considering I forget the numbers, but it's something like 50 million people in the US have Bitcoin or hold some shit coins and stuff. So it's a huge voting block out there. And again, it looks like they're pandering for that vote. Obviously, things are getting closer to the elections, and so now they're really trying to lock in the last couple of votes, some percentage points out here. But again, I don't know what that even means. I don't know. Is she protecting pump and dumpers? Like, I don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
The language is just vague in general. Like, I don't know what it means. I completely agree. Johnny, please don't get us banned, but what's your opinion on all this?
Well, I was telling you before the stream that I think Satoshi did have some race language, that Bitcoin is for this race only. So I think it's true to the white paper, is what I'm saying. No, I mean
that's a joke, YouTube. That's a joke.
It's a joke, YouTube. Sorry,
it's a joke.
Please don't ban their channel. I would say, I mean, if I'm looking at this glass half full, she's trying to get crypto voters or Bitcoin voters, and she's just wrapping it in a wrapping paper that won't make it seem like she's doing everything Trump is doing. So I think if you can take off the wrapping paper, I hope it's a good present, but it may not be. Who's to say?
Yeah, and like, to be specific, like I don't remember Bitcoin being for a specific group of people. Like, Bitcoin is for everyone. It doesn't discriminate, which is it's just crazy. I mean, but it's what Opti is saying, right? Like, obviously she's trying to pick up votes from a certain demographic, but I don't think that's the right way of going about it, to be honest with you. But that's my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a politician, but anyways, guys, moving on. We're going to talk about the Tuttle twins' new episode. during the culture segment. I'm so excited. It's about to drop. BTC Sessions is featured. I'm so excited to check out this new episode. And we have the trailer for you guys. So stay tuned for the culture. All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. You want to stack friends who stack sats. Join the 12,233 Bitcoiners that are currently on the Orange Pill app. It is the #1 resource for Bitcoin-only events. It's also a great way to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. So right now I'm in Paris. I'm going to be in Paris for the next 2 weeks. And let's say I want to connect with fellow Bitcoiners that are in Paris. Pull up the Orange Pill app, has a really cool geographical feature, and it will literally show me the Bitcoiners that are around me. It's also one of the best ways to reach me directly. Don't really answer random Twitter DMs or random emails. So you want to send me a message, you want to interact with me, send me a message on the Orange Pill app. And I make sure like every week or so to get back to every single one of you guys. So download the Orange Pill app today. It's a great resource to, again, connect with fellow Bitcoiners that are near you. And if you're traveling to conferences, you're going to new cities, and you just don't know any Bitcoiners in your locale, this is what the Orange Pill app is for. So to get started, scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. Before we talk to Johnny about the new Tuttle Twins episode, I'm going to play you guys the trailer. Let's check it out.
I'm so tired of everything getting so expensive.
If only we could control the money, then we could fix the money problems ourselves.
That's what they all say. Get him! We're doing a Bitcoin sequel!
What are CBDCs?
Central bank digital currencies. Instead of being completely uncontrolled, this money is completely controlled. Oh no.
Uncle Jamie says Bitcoin is a pet rock. It doesn't do anything. Then again, Uncle Jamie does spend a concerning amount of time with his pet rocks. Jamie! Time for dinner!
I'm not doing anything weird in here, Mom!
So it's dropping very soon, dropping October 17th. And yeah, man, I'm so excited for this new episode. You guys mentioned CBDCs. Who does the voiceovers?
Yeah, we have a team of voice actors across the US who do them. I somehow voice the 11-year-old boy, so it makes sense in an animated world.
Could you do the rest of the show in that voice?
I just have to go a little bit higher like this and then be like, Grandma, stop. I don't want to go to Jamie Dimon's house. Things like that. Yeah.
That's so funny. Why is the grandma Hispanic? That's hilarious.
Yeah. So she's from Cuba. And we wanted to, first of all, we just had a great Cuban American buddy who just killed it in the audition. And he plays the grandma. Another magic of animation is you often have guys playing girls and stuff like that. But we also wanted to tell the story of communism and how good we have it in the U.S. and having grandma be from communist Cuba and come over. You know, it really set the stage for just a good lesson of how our life is here in the land of the free, you could say, versus communism. So that's been a very good kind of tool for us to use in the show.
That's awesome. And I'm from Miami, so I'm very familiar with Cuban abuelitas. So yeah, and they're like the most based people ever, because they just know, like they know. But yeah, man, I mean, every collectivist society, I think people really don't appreciate the freedoms and liberties that we have as Americans, and specifically, the first and second amendment, and also the decentralization of the different states that allows competition between all the different states, right? And of course, the First and Second Amendment create a situation where you see politicians trying to get rid of this, but you see how difficult it is for them to do so, right? But yeah, I memean, that's really interesting. I love that backstory there. So, could you talk a little bit about this upcoming episode? I did mention, I did hear you mention the CBDC aspect. As a YouTuber myself, people are not interested in CBDCs. When I talk about CBDCs or I put them in the title, just people tune the fuck out. They just don't care. So I'm very glad that you guys have highlighted that because it is very important. The way that I see the way that my wife's in the chat, uh, grandma should have a Venezuelan boyfriend. Very inappropriate. So, but what I was saying is it's so important that you highlight that because the way that the world is going is there's going to be a choice that people are going to have to make. And the future of fiat is CBDCs. The future of Bitcoin. Sorry, the future of freedom and freedom money is Bitcoin. I'll go a step above that because I put quite a bit of thought into this. The future of socialism and communism is CBDCs. The future of capitalism and free markets is Bitcoin, right? That's the way that you should see it. But I'm really glad that you brought that up because of the amount of control and power that governments have over fiat today with a digital currency. In Europe, what they did was really interesting. That when the branding was tarnished, they changed the name. So it's no longer a central bank digital currency. It's just called the digital euro. It's the same shit, bro. I promise you. But every country around the world is moving full steam ahead. I believe the Atlantic Council has a Atlantic Council has a very handy dandy CBDC tracker that I'm going to show on the screen, and it's literally tracking the development of central bank digital currencies all around the world. And as you can see, for our audio listeners, basically, every continent and country around the world has some type of CBDC in development. It's only maybe Africa, some countries in Central Africa that are not interested, but the United States, Russia, Europe, China, India, Australia, Argentina, Brazil, whatever they're actively developing a CBDC. So I want to pass it on to you, Johnny. Why did you guys decide to highlight that in this next episode that you guys are releasing 2 days from now?
Yeah. So we always follow our audience. We make what they want. And then we also are always listening. We're an independent show. We're not beholden to Hollywood or to, I don't know, like government. We don't take government subsidies. So we can kind of be flexible and act quickly and be nimble. And so we created 2 years, no, I think last year, about maybe 18 months ago, we dropped the first Bitcoin episode, and we were like, we hope this does well. We'll see what our audience thinks. The Bitcoin community came out in droves. Our audience loved it. It got over 40 million views for this episode. So we're like, okay, the market has spoken. People want more of this. And then I think, so we knew we were going to do a Bitcoin sequel, but like what the topic was going to be was kind of up in the air. And then we just started learning more and more about CBDCs, and exactly to your point that people weren't paying attention to them. And one thing we can do at the show is that we can create little clips from the show, and the most educational clips are always the most viral parts of our show. And so we thought, well, let's put the focus on CBDCs. Let's break it down for kids what they are, and then parents are going to understand too, and then everyone in between is going to understand. This kind of money, once it's unleashed, is pretty much the eye of Sauron. That's how we show it in the episode, where there's this all-seeing control and this all-seeing eye, and they can make your money expire. We're seeing that in China. We're highlighting in this episode how every single country, the majority of these countries are already piloting or exploring CBDCs, right? They can tax you instantly with it. They can seize your money if you're a domestic terrorist and you post something wrong, right? So we're hoping that in packaging it in this way, we're going to raise much more of the mass awareness of what it is. And yeah, if you like Nico, like you said, the episode's coming out in 2 days. We're going to be releasing it outside of Angel paywall. Like it's the only episode this season. We're just giving it out for free. So if you see it, share it, and if you love it, come check out our other episodes.
That's hey, awesome. Johnny, I have a question. You said that the last Bitcoin episode that you guys did got 40 million views. What's like that comparison to your other numbers? Was that like outsized compared, or was that like relatively normal?
So the only other episode that got close to that was our inflation monster episode, which was like something like 30 something million views. And then the others, generally it's like 5 million views an episode. And it's more over time.
Wow.
But yeah, so we were like, oh my gosh, we think the Federal Reserve is our marketing department. And they're just making people hungry for this content. And people are waking up to the fact that inflation is stealing from everyone.
So yeah, who is the target market for Tuttle Twins? Like, who would you recommend? Like, who is this show for? Like, Johnny.
Yeah. I'd say, we make it for kids 6 to 12, but we hear all the time, I'm in college. I learned more from this episode than my economics class, or and honestly, we write it for ourselves too. We love the early Pixar stuff where like adults would get the light beer joke, but it'd go way over kids' heads, right? Like where every episode has jokes for adults and jokes for kids, and we create it to be a family viewing experience. So that's, long and short, it's for everyone. But
and I think what makes it very unique is that it takes a more it takes a more conservative outlook on certain issues, and specifically economic issues and political issues, and you don't really see that with kind of mainstream cartoons. Do you believe that a lot of the popularity comes from that, because it's a very unique approach? Like you guys, you're talking about a based Cuban grandma that is talking about communism. Like, I'm like, what is that? That's very unique to Tuttle Twins, I'm assuming.
Yeah, honestly, man, we crowdfunded this show from the beginning. We said, hey, parents, we want to make a show that highlights constitutional values. We want to make it, Austrian economics, all these things. Do you want to fund it? And we were blown away, and they funded it. And so we're just beholden. We're not beholden to like big studios. We're beholden to our audience. So everything we do, we're serving that audience. And in fact, the way Angel, we're one of the shows on the Angel app. If you've heard of Angel Studios, like Sound of Freedom, The Chosen stuff. But how it works is like none of the content on Angel gets made until the people who join something called the Angel Guild, kind of a subscription for Angel, until those people give the green light. So like we literally can't make a show without the approval of the people that we're serving. And in that way, it's very much bottom up instead of top down entertainment. And so and our fans, our audience, they give us new ideas for every single season. And we just try and, serve them the best we can.
Absolutely.
The critics in disbelief. Nico, we do have a good question in here in the chat. Okay, let me pull this up. So Mikkel asked, Johnny, how do you handle confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance from viewers, kids, and adults who may reject or misinterpret factual information presented on your show?
Yeah, that's a good point. There are some episodes that we're planning for season 4 that we could never have done in season 1. And I think that's just, we needed to build trust with our audience and say, okay, let's take you down the rabbit hole a little bit. I think for Bitcoiners, it's easy for us to be like, okay, I don't trust the money. Wait, what else is the government lying to me about, right? You kind of have to ease out of, if we're going to like Plato's cave analogy, you have to ease out of the darkness. Like there's a lot of dark stuff and there's a lot of lies, and you have to kind of ease your way out of the matrix. And so I would say we built that rapport over time, where like season 1, we could not have done a Bitcoin episode. But like season 4, we're doing a medical industrial complex episode. We're doing one on like on the military industrial complex. We're doing stuff that like people maybe wouldn't have gone along for the ride with us early on. But it's really exciting because we're doing that with our fans.
Yeah, and it's great that you guys are making this content towards the more younger generation. You guys are exposing them to ideas that perhaps they wouldn't get exposed through traditional media, right? So I think you guys are doing Satoshi's work, incredible job, just exposing the younger generations and families to the ideas of Austrian economics, the ideas of inflation, the ideas of Bitcoin, obviously, and all the political discussions that I'm sure you guys bring up during the show as well, if you're talking about based Cuban grandmas. So that's awesome. Where can people find the episode that is going to be dropping again October 17th? So 2 days from now, if they want to catch that right when it premieres, where could people find it?
Yeah, we're going to be releasing it on every social media platform, on X, YouTube, and then you can watch it as well in the Angel app. If you like the episode, please share it. Please get the word out. And then if you love the show, you can watch seasons 1 and 2 for free. Just go to angel.com/Tuttle Twins or download the Angel app and you can watch it. And then if you love it even more, you can join the Angel Guild, that monthly subscription, and then you'll get access to season 3, which is the current season we're on. So
that's awesome. Well, good for you, man. This is great. I'm excited for this next episode. I was a huge fan of the first Bitcoin episode, the way that you guys did it. Highly recommend it if you guys haven't checked it out. The way that they approach Satoshi and the based Cuban grandma and all that. And going into like a video game and going to like another dimension, all of that. It's very, very clever, very educational, very fun. And I'm an adult, I think, and I still enjoyed. I still enjoyed this very, very well done cartoon. So go check out Tuttle Twins. Go to TuttleTwins.tv. Do you have any parting thoughts you want to tell the 1,700 people watching live right now, Johnny?
Yeah, I'd say like Bitcoin is hope. Everyone responds to messages differently. We try and reach kids with our show, but always through parents. And we're not trying to like take kids away from their parents or sneak it into kids' content. We're very overt about our messaging. And like watch our show if you think this resonates with you. Like we've seen it over and over again. It orange pills people in a different way, and so feel free to use it. Hopefully, it's useful in the orange pilling you're doing.
Absolutely, 100%. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's show. We're at 187 likes, and there's 400 of you guys watching live on YouTube. So if you guys are enjoyed the show, make sure to smash that like button. I'm not going to end the show till we break 200 likes on YouTube. Because we're very, very close. So smash that like button.
All right. Well, then let me
helps it. I'm going to pass it on top to you.
Yeah, I did get a sneak peek of this episode this morning. It was great. I don't want to expose too much of the episode because I want people to watch it. But the Uncle Jamie quote was hilarious. I didn't catch it at first, and then I realized, like, oh, wait, they're talking about Jamie Dimon. This is hilarious. There's a bunch of Bitcoiners that are referenced in, or not referenced, actually voice acting in it. There's a bunch of Bitcoin topics there, and there is. Like, I really want to say this quote, but I don't know if I want to ruin the quote that is like the main theme of the show. Maybe here, let me drop it in the chat for Johnny to see it and see if whether he thinks it's a good idea to sneak peek it. Okay, cool. So like the main theme of the show is, and I'm quoting from the show, when money is controlled, money is corrupted. And again, like we pointed in the beginning with Thomas Massie, you did have a moment there where you are explaining inflation and the Cantillon effect and money printer. And I just, it's such a good explanation. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on some of those topics. There was a lot of relevant Bitcoin topics in this episode that we've kind of experienced since the last time the last Bitcoin episode was dropped.
Yeah, that sums it up. When money's controlled, money's corrupted. I think this will be the first time a kid's show mentions the Canadian trucker protest. And Justin Trudeau has a little cameo for his role. So, yeah, it really is that simple for this episode, and we just have a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, looking forward
Let's
to it,
go.
guys. You could check the episode October 17th, 2 days from now. We broke 200 likes. We're at 211 likes. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Today is October 15th, 2024. I'm streaming live from Paris. And of course, I'm Nico, your host for today, my co-host Optimus Fields, and our very special guest, Johnny Vance from the Tuttle Twins. Go check out TuttleTwins.tv for more information. And again, their new episode, their new Bitcoin episode is dropping 2 days from now, October 17th. If you guys enjoyed the show and you know what to do, smash the like button, consider subscribing, and share this content with your friends and family. Get the message out there. Inflation, money does not have to lose purchasing power in order to function. What is money? What is Bitcoin? Get the message out there. And the way that you do that is by sharing Bitcoin content. One of my favorite quotes is, the way that you win over politics is you win over the culture. So we win over the culture, win over the politics. Anyways, guys, I love you all. Appreciate it. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. And stay tuned for a Dante Cook Bitcoin Simply episode dropping later today. Take care, everybody.
By BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.